Marley. I know we've been talking about this for quite some time. I know farmers have been having some trouble getting out because it's been so cold, actually a little wet out there too.
I know when springtime rolls around, I feel like they're all ready to just hit the ground running and just get out there, and they've kind of just had to do that sporadically here in between, you know, our rain chances and whatnot. And that leads us to our farm report for today. I want to jump right into this here because the USDA's recent crop progress report indicates, David, that only 1% of corn is planted in the United States or in Indiana right now, and no soybeans. So obviously, we're just kind of off to a little slow start here, but I actually spoke to a corn specialist and a soybean specialist over at Purdue University to just kind of see how this planting season compares to previous years. So check it out. The month of April brought cool and wet conditions for farmers.
One word I've been hearing from farmers and some of our extension educators around the state, it's wet.
Dan Quinn, Purdue Extension corn specialist, says planting has gotten off to a slow start.
We're sitting a little bit behind. We still have some time, but we are a little bit behind because of those. It's just been cool and it's been wet.
And as far as soybeans, Purdue soybean specialist Sean Castile says most of them are still sitting in the barn.
We got the seed that's been delivered in the ground across the state. We don't have anything reporting in terms of percentages. I'm sure there's a field or two out there, but nothing's really in the ground in a major way.
At this time last year, Castile says Indiana had roughly 8% of soybeans planted.
But a year ago, the field conditions were much drier.
And because of that, Castile knows right now farmers are anxious and feel like planting is a bit late, but he says that's not the case.
We're not late. It may feel late whenever we look at 2020, 2021. Both of those years were a very advanced planting progress.
For corn growers, Quinn says roughly 13% was planted at this time last year. However, our current planting situation is similar to 2018, and Indiana saw record-breaking yields that year.
This time in 2018, the number we were at was 1% corn planted. There's just so much yield left to be made. You know, if we get to a month from now and we're still way behind, that's when we get a little bit worried.
Quinn and Castile both say there's no need to stress right now, and there's still plenty of time left.
I think that we're still in a good place to have the good yield potential. Timely planting is part of that on soybeans, and so I think we have every bit of that potential still for this 22 season.
While waiting for good conditions, they both stress the importance of being patient.
You get off to the wrong foot with planting, and a lot of times it can set you up to being off on the wrong foot the entire season.
I want to go back real quick and go back to what Castile said. You know, he said, we're not late. It may seem like it, but we just kind of are off to that slow start like we kind of talked about. And I really do think the USDA's new crop progress report actually comes out today. So I think that 1% is going to be higher, and I think we'll also have some soybeans in too.
I know I saw a lot of farmers out either last week and throughout the weekend. Getting some things out, so that's good.
Just doing it between the rain too.
Right, yeah, and you know what, looking at the month of April, we only had about 2 inches of rain when comparison we're normally seeing about 3 to sometimes 4 inches during April, so we were below, but what really kept us wet was just the cold air. I mean, we were probably about 2 degrees from normal for the entire month. So it was a cool month, but that ultimately just kept things kind of wet.
Yeah, it really didn't dry out like you said. So
definitely not.
So actually a little below average then on rainfall?
Yes, below average on rainfall for us here in Lafayette. Now, Indianapolis was near normal further south, but here in the greater Lafayette area, about just less than normal. So it's just, again, that cooler weather.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see what the month of May will bring for us too. This week we're going to get more rain.
Yeah, as of now, it looks pretty wet for the start of May, but going into next week, maybe warmer, drier. So there is some hope in the future here for us.
There is some hope, and I'm, like I said earlier too, curious to see about that new crop progress report coming out today. So we'll update those numbers when that does come out as well. But David, thank you so much for giving us all of that information there. And